My clients, Sandra and Steve, met me through mutual friends. I had renovated their penthouse and they loved it and asked for an introduction. They were engaged to get married and wanted the place completely renovated before the wedding date. The space was more of a builder grade finish. So when they brought me in, we wanted to create the ideal aesthetic that would complement and not compete with the incredible city view of the CN Tower and amazing buildings around. I think one of the most important things is nailing down the ideal floor plan. And in this case, I found an opportunity, and that was to move the peninsula island 10 inches closer to the appliance wall. That allowed us to create an overhang and seating, which they previously did not have, and is very, very comfortable and enjoyable for them. And it also allowed us to have the appropriate space as passage through to the primary suite. They have a real love for wine. They had a couple of separate wine fridges, and they had a little bit of a bar area, but it really wasn't a statement piece, and it actually didn't easily house the wine collection that they had. So one of the things I wanted to do is create a real focal point around this and use a wine column that houses about 70 bottles of wine in a couple of temperatures. So that really worked for their functional needs. And it was really aesthetically, I think, the jumping off point for creating this great bar area. I created some storage above, which is really, really needed. But the really interesting piece of it is it helped me to address one of the HVAC panels that we needed to conceal, but at the same time, certainly we want to have access to it when it's needed. To do that, I created a bar cart on casters that we're able to pull out when we need access to that HVAC panel. And when we don't, we have this incredible area that is just a great showpiece for the clients to enjoy. We didn't want to compete with that and have a lot of detail in the millwork in the rest of the kitchen. And so keeping that in mind, we used a white millwork with finger pulls, keeping things really, really simple, streamlined. We hid the microwave under the counters and used a drawer instead of cabinetry under the sink. The counters are a fresh white color, and it has a beautiful striking gray vein to it. We wanted to use that on the counters on the island, as well as up the backsplash and on the vent hood. I wanted to create continuity on this back wall here. The door itself was on the lower side, and so what we did is we added some millwork to top it up and level it off so that it was consistent right across that wall. I think it looks really beautiful. I wanted the millwork to continue in terms of the same color. We used a space gray from Benjamin Moore, which is a really beautiful gray with a blue undertone. And I also used a commercial grade linen textured wallpaper really to kind of glue it all together. The millwork included a media component that was made around the AV equipment that the client had selected as part of this renovation. And then above that, I included millwork with storage, which is so important, of course, and an opening cavity just for some display items with some lighting. And I think it looks really, really pretty. And at night, it's really quite lovely. The jumping off point in the decor colors was the area rug. It was a custom area rug. It has a beautiful navy to it and is really a statement piece. Using that as the backdrop, we took the existing sectional and I reupholstered it in a fabric that would support that area rug. We chose a chair and some simple furnishings not to take away from this incredible statement piece. I created a number of custom pillows to support this scheme. Different fabrics and patterns. I think the textures and the combination of those colors looks beautiful. Upon entering into the penthouse the first time, it was wonderful that they had an existing walnut table that I was happy to work with, but it was kind of floating in the center and it was really a bit of an obstacle to getting to the terrace. I wanted to create a banquette area with storage on either side and move the walnut table a little closer to that wall, which freed up the passageway. I decided to use the opportunity to hide a second HVAC panel. In the millwork, we created an opening for the circulation, of course, but when you use the touch latch and open it up, you'll see on one side there's storage, on the other side there's the HVAC panel. We selected a number of chairs that had a low profile, modern feel, again, not to compete with the view from outside. I was so lucky because the client's mom was an artist. And so there were a number of pieces from her artwork that I was able to go through and select from. And I chose a custom light fixture that offered a great balance of lighting. It really suits the view, especially in the evening. It's kind of a sexy vibe to it. The materials themselves, it's so important to have performance materials when you're sitting and you have messy fingers and you can just really enjoy the space. We chose really soft upholstery fabrics, one for the seat and one for the back, and I used a channel detail in the back. I think it's just the right amount of texture and it feels really good to sit on. The positive thing about the space is they actually have an entryway with some storage and, all the practical things. But it was a bit underwhelming. They did have a lovely credenza that I wanted to continue to use. I was delighted again to use some of the artwork that the client already had, and I decided to create an art gallery wall using the artwork that they had and displaying it with a backdrop of some interesting wallpaper. In selecting the materials in the main bathroom, I was inspired by this concrete ceiling in the rest of the condo. Large format 36 by 36 tiles on the floor and on the back wall, and then used a different gray as a more matted finish on some of the other walls and the ceiling. We used a black millwork and black stone, creating this really sexy, moody vibe. There wasn't any natural light in the bathroom, so we used a large mirror to add some reflective quality and also some artwork as well, and I think that it all came together really quite beautifully. The primary suite is really quite lovely. They have an incredible view from their window. So we wanted to keep the materials really quite soft. There's a gorgeous concrete vertical slab on one side of the wall, and I decided to continue with that theme with a wall covering across the headboard wall. I used the existing headboard from the client, and we freshened it up with some beautiful white linens and a beautiful Kelly Wurzler designed pillow. In the primary ensuite, we decided to renovate the full space, and we used as a backdrop on the floor a midnight navy blue in a large format tile. We weren't able to have a curbless entry into the shower, and we weren't able to do a linear drain, but what I had the contractor do is cut down those large midnight blue tiles into 4x4s and slope it to the center. I think that offers a great continuity to that space. Now the camera may not pick up on it, but it is an absolutely beautiful navy blue with a distressed finish to it, and it's quite lovely. In condos, there are some constraints, and sometimes we're not able to create niches in the wall. And in this case, we got very, very lucky, and we discovered as part of the construction that there was a cavity above the tub wall. So I was delighted to be able to create a niche above the tub and another one symmetrical in the shower. That allowed us to really repeat the stone that we used on the tub surround and the vanity in that niche. And I think it really offers a pop. And upon entering into that space, that's really the first thing you see. We did a custom vanity, and we were delighted to be able to use that strong walnut dark finish. I think it turned out quite lovely, and it offers an enormous amount of storage, which is so important. The clients have told me on a number of occasions how they enjoy living here every single day. And personally, I have such a sense of pride when I come into a completed space like this, because I see how beautifully they maintain it. In fact, it looks exactly the way I left it, and that really makes me feel special.